really puts the focus on interpersonal communication and speaking and listening. We start every day in the circle. As a teacher, as a language teacher, I want my students to be able to communicate off the cuff. Like, that's for me where real language happens. Nothing scripted, nothing memorized, like, how are you doing today? Da da da. And so we start sitting in a circle every day to help build that community. I have my students turn and talk to their neighbors multiple times a day, just little sentences, chat, chat, chat. I'm teaching middle school this year, so a lot of it is the lower level Spanish, which you need tons of repetition. And so when you sit in the circle and we do games to switch up who you're sitting next to, I found that it really helps the students take risks because they know that they're not on the spot. It's not presentational mode where they're being in front of everyone. They're just chatting with their friend about, what did you do this weekend? We do like sustained speaking in Spanish. And so just turn and talk for 2 minutes to your neighbor about your mom, describe your house, how is school going? And having the circle, I think, makes it feel like a community. Definitely, again, it depends on where you are. The circle came out of a couple workshops I did a few years ago called Organic World Language, which again is how language happens organically. And I used to have more like, table group settings, so not the old rows or anything like that, boring, but like table groups. And I switched to the circle a few years ago, and I noticed oral proficiency really increased. I also noticed students who would come into my classroom, who had come from a more traditional grammar-focused classroom, being like, oh my gosh, like kind of deer in headlights, being a little overwhelmed that most of the class is in Spanish, even at the lower levels. And many times those types of students would be like, Miss Klein, can you please just give me a worksheet? Just give me a word. I just want to conjugate some verbs. Because it was easy, right? Like, drop the ending and just plug and chug. And it didn't really actually help them learn any Spanish. It just meant that they like checked the box and played school well because they turned it in on time. And having the circle, I've said from the beginning, like, I want you to start falling in love with speaking and listening, to connect with Spanish, to connect with the cultures, things like that. And I found that the circle really, it's not just me saying it, it's living by